So I know many of you who are watching who are also struggling on your temperance journey and struggling to do better with your life and struggling to make something of yourself in the couple of months that we still have left in this year. I just want to share the moment that I explained to my partner about what I was really going through and how overwhelmed I was. And I don't know if this video can help somebody also do the same and be able to seek help and be helped in order to, do better. So I remember one time I was trying to explain to my husband how overwhelmed I was and how depressed I was and how difficult it was for me to actually do something about my situation, because he was like, it's not that hard, just get up and go, I'm here, I'm gonna help you. And I kept feeling as though that was not enough, that I needed more, that I really didn't feel as though I could handle doing everything that needed to be done. And that's exactly what the problem was. I had so many issues, okay? Still do. Um, there were so many things wrong. After going through postpartum depression for years, everything in your life has become a mess because you just left it there. You just left it there. So many things in my life were not dealt with. My marriage was just there. It needed to be dealt with, but it was just there. It was somewhere on some back burner. It was actually, I don't know where it was. I don't know where it was. It was basically non existent at some point of the journey, but um, it needed to be dealt with. It was here. It was on my mind. It needed to be dealt with. My daughter was acting out because I had been a very toxic, sometimes not present mom, sometimes present, sometimes not present, sometimes physically present but not emotionally present. I was an up and down kind of roller coaster mom. And so I knew that she was acting out because of how unstable certain moments of her life had been with me. She was mostly with me, largely with me. Her dad was always at work. And so the way I was acting and my inability to function most days was greatly affecting her. And in turn, it affected how her behavior. And then her behavior affected me. And there we went, and there we went, and there we went again. Then it was about, my finances. I couldn't get through with jobs. I couldn't work. I couldn't focus. And so I was just stuck in a cycle of being broke. Then I had my health. My health was terrible. I had diabetes and high blood pressure during pregnancy, and sometimes they would come in and come and go and come and go, even postpartum, just because, I wasn't, on top of my game. With my food, I wasn't exercising. I wasn't, I was extremely stressed. I was always in a stressful situation. I was always so depressed and I was always not feeling good. So that was getting worse. My health was just getting worse. My physical health was getting worse. Then I was getting more and more obese because of how I was eating and lack of exercise. So that was also a problem I needed to fix. My health was bad. My physical appearance was bad. Everything was bad. My hem now my mental health. My mental health was terrible. I couldn't function as a person. I couldn't even focus most days. I didn't want to wake up in the morning. I didn't want to bathe. I didn't want to brush my teeth. I didn't want to comb my hair. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do that. I was rarely ever getting dressed for anything. It was terrible. So I had to deal with that. I had to deal with lack of self-love. I had to deal with the fact that now when I looked in the mirror, I did not know who it was. Identity crisis one-on-one. I didn't know who it was. I didn't know this person. I didn't like this person. I didn't want to be this person. But I had a hard time changing this person. So I was struggling with that too. I had too many things going on. It was just too much. I didn't feel like my dreams were able to happen now that I became a mom, now that I was always in mom mood rather than just being me. I just felt like everything was too much. I was extremely suicidal and I was just not dealing with anything well. And so I reached a point where I had to explain to somebody, I need help. I need help. I had a serious cry for help. I was like, I need help. I am drowning. I am drowning. I was crying almost every day for years. A lot of people didn't know that, but I was crying at night, all night. I was just crying, crying, crying. When people were not home and my husband was at work and I would send my daughter to daycare, I was just home crying, 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 because I just felt like this will never end. I have too many areas of my life that need fixing. Where do I start? I have this amount of energy. All I can do in the day is try to show up a little bit for my daughter. I wasn't showing up for my husband most days. Let's be honest. I was like, you know what? He's grown. He's an adult. He don't need me. He can cook for himself. He can clean for himself. He can do the dishes. He can do X, Y, and Z. He's an adult. He doesn't need me the way she does. So the little bit of energy I had was just for Jasmine tonight. It was just for my daughter. Just for her. I couldn't show up for me. I couldn't show up for him. I could only show up for her. And then only a little bit. I couldn't do all the things that I had planned I was going to do when I was a mom. I could just only show up a little bit. Make sure she's clean. Make sure she's fed. Play with her a little bit. Read a little story. The one thing I was always consistent with is doing worship with her. And I really thank God for that foundation, because I know that is what kept her sane, and that's what kept me kind of little saner than I would have been if I hadn't even been doing that. Just having daily morning worship and evening worship with her, praying and doing devotions and reading Bible stories and telling her about God and teaching her his ways is what kept her sane, I'm sure. And it's what kept her progressing when everybody was like, how is your daughter so smart? And I'm like, y'all don't even know that in the house I just have her on the floor telling her go play while mommy's just sleeping on the bed, screaming, crying, depressed, not waking up, wearing the same clothes from yesterday. It was a mess. And so when you're in such a big mess, you don't know how to fix it. Because this was my energy level, but this was my mess. How do I fix this with this? It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. So the mess kept getting bigger and bigger because I didn't know how to fix it. And I'm the type of person, I think I have undiagnosed ADHD and kind of OCD-ish, because I need to have everything fixed at once. That little by little thing just does not work for me. It's something I'm struggling with. I think I'm slightly perfectionist, and so I couldn't deal with just only doing this, only doing that. No, everything had to change at once. Otherwise, I still felt like I wasn't making progress at all. And that's a trap. That's a trap from the pits of hell. It's a trap of the enemy, because then you don't work on anything and you stay in the cycle and you just get worse. My advice to anyone watching this video who feels even remotely what I am experiencing or what I have been talking about in this video, just start. Choose one thing. I know. I'm speaking from experience, so I know you will feel like that's not enough. But let me tell you, 5 years down the line, you would have fixed the whole mess. And it doesn't have to take 5 years. So don't focus on 5 years. Don't focus on that. Don't focus on that. I said that. Okay? Get it out. It's not going to take you 5 years. But what I mean to say is, I'm 5 years after having the baby, and now I still feel like I need to fix all those areas. If I had just spent 1 month on one issue and then the next month on the other issue and just try to go from there, I would have been good by now. But I'm not good by now. I'm now still working on my weight. Now still working on loving myself. Now still working on trying to be disciplined. Now still working on getting consistent. Now still working on self-care. Now still working on working out. Now still working on controlling my appetite. Now still working on my marriage. Now working on how to parent properly. Now working on everything. I'm still having to work on everything. And I'm not saying that there comes a point where you don't have to put effort in these things anymore, because I think this is a lifelong thing. As long as you're alive, you're going to be working on yourself. But what I'm trying to say is, it wouldn't be such a big issue. It wouldn't be such a big mess. It wouldn't be so overwhelming, because I would have dealt with one thing at a time. And if you change one thing, then you can start changing the other things. And if you haven't yet, you have to check out my temperance series, because that's where I talk about the one thing that really destructs most of my other areas of my life, and that is the lack of self-control when it comes to eating habits. Guys, girls, whoever you are, this is key. Dealing with your habits, so much of that is just tied into self-control when it comes to your eating habits. And if we can control our eating, we will see that we will have self-control in all the other areas. And that's where I started now. I started with my eating first, because I knew I had to like what I saw in the mirror. I knew I had to be healthier. I knew that all this excess sugar just makes my insulin spike, and then I have a crash in insulin, and then I'm just always up and down in my moods, and up and down in my energy levels, and up and down in my weight. And I knew that that's just where I had to start. I have to start at the source of most of the evil. Like, sugar and the lack of self-control when it comes to my eating is the root of most evil of my life, and I just know I had to deal with that. So I don't know where you are. I don't know what you're struggling with. I don't know your story specifically, but I do know mine, and I do know what works for me, and I do know that I can help you also achieve these successes. So If you haven't already, go and check out the temping series, and I really hope you follow along. Comment down in the section down below if this video was helpful for you. And if there's anything you want to share, you can share your experience as well. But let's just try to do better, because we can. And don't try to do everything at once, because you can't. I know it sucks to hear that, but you can't. But you can take one step at a time. One step at a time will take you where you need to go. Trying to do everything at once will keep you where you are, and you will be more and more frustrated, and the mess will get bigger, bigger, bigger. One step at a time gets you where you need to go. So take that first step today. Take that first step. Once you're finished watching this video, write down what you're going to do. What is the first step you need to take? Take the first step. Dedicate the first week, the second week, the third week, how many weeks you need on taking the first step. Deal with the first problem and then go to the next. Don't be like me. Otherwise, you're going to be 5 years down the road and regretting that you didn't just admit that you can't handle it all and deal with one thing at a time. Deal with one thing at a time. You can do it, and you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Much success to you. Much success to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys' testimonies on these videos and seeing how you are doing better. Much success to you. We have a Father who wants to help us, so let's submit to Him and He will help us. I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye.